All right, it is March 13, 2024. This is Nefio's SIG 2 meeting. So I've shared the agenda, but I don't know how much we'll be able to do with it. I know we have, I don't think Fikra is here yet. And yeah, this might be tough to do today if we don't have enough people. Wim, what do you think in terms of handling this?
I mean, yeah, if there is no person to do the demo, that's hard, right? So let's move to the next topic and see. Right. So
I mean, generally, if well, you know, we have some people. All of you are key people, so that's great. So there's a bunch of we can go to the other topics. I just wonder if we can really make decisions when we don't have everybody. But let's see. So there are a bunch of PRs. I think it was Fikra who pointed these out to me. We can take a look at them. All of them are related to work having to do with SIG 4.
Yeah.
So
but they are, I think most of them are closed, right? 560 is closed.
I think you might be right. Yeah, I think since I added this
I worked on some of them.
Yeah, let me look. I think all of them might be merged, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, one is open.
Which one?
Oops, my share. Let me try to share the whole window. This one regarding Dependabot.
Yes, so there was, wait, 558.
Yeah, I saw that there was a retest somebody did. Okay, just, okay to test, sorry. All right, and the last one.
This should also be good to go, I think, yeah.
So I was just confused about this. Do we actually have a code of conduct from LFN? But the question is the Nefio community, has the TSC adopted that code of conduct? Do we have to because we're an LFN? I just don't know if we need to ratify it or something like that.
Maybe we can bring it up to the. We can bring it up to the. Can we bring it up tomorrow? There is a TSC, right?
There should be, but I imagine again there's going to be a lot of missing people because of the time shift.
We have Sagar on the call. Sagar, I'm putting you on the spot, but I know you're part of the TSC, so maybe that's something you know.
Yeah, I think most of you are also, right? Tal is also there.
I am not a TSC member, actually.
Oh, you're not there? Oh, okay, sorry.
Well, I come to the meetings as a chair, and but I'm not I don't have voting rights in the TSC.
Okay, so okay.
Tala and Victor, I think.
Everywhere. So sometimes I really forget about things.
Okay, I guess there's not much to discuss additionally.
I will be there tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow too. I just don't know if we'll have a quorum for a vote or something, or maybe, again, maybe this has already been decided. Maybe the moment we join LFN, we were supposed to agree to the code of conduct. It was never raised as an issue. And if it is important, we should have discussed this, right? Because this applies to everybody involved in the project has to adhere by the code of conduct. So it's probably important that we know what it is. So yeah, I think that's an issue we should raise at the level of the TSC before we actually merge things here.
Hey, quick suggestion, pal. Can we have that being a mail thread instead of just vocal on meetings? Just because so many people can't attend the meetings, and if there is definitely a code of conduct to abide by, then I think the mailing list might be broader, reach more people.
You might be right. I do think to be a member of the TSC, you do have to go to meetings, a certain minimum amount of meetings. But you're right, the reach of the TSC is difficult, especially tomorrow. That's a good idea. I wonder if let's see who is involved mostly in this.
Let me take it. I'm going to send the email.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you. That's very nice of you. So it's issue 483 if you want to. There are links there just to the code of conduct.
Thanks.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
You can put that on the Slack channel also if you want, right? There's a TSC Slack channel. Isn't that easy?
Yeah, I don't know how many. Again, the issue with reach, some people are in Slack, but I don't think most are actually. Definitely not active.
Okay.
Yeah, I think email is the formal and the correct way to reach every member of the TSC regarding that. Yeah. So I expected this to take more time, but since we have time, I wonder if the people here. I've started to sketch some ideas. You know what? Let me add another issue just to. A lot of issues with question marks for me. So here's the context. We've is Fikra on the call? Yes, great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, he just joined. Yeah. So oh, Fikra, now that you're here, do you want to do this demo?
I don't have this system. I don't have my environment. So I got a new laptop recently, and I've lost my setup. But I did present it at the release. I wonder is there a recording? There is. I hope there's a recording. But yeah, it's in a nutshell, it's just using GCP elastic runners, ephemeral elastic runners on demand, and executing. It's just so it's using a. Do you know what? If people want the demo, I can set it up. I can get it going again. But currently no. Is there a recording? Who do we have? Rado? No.
3 weeks ago. I'll have a look, but there is a recording normally. Let me have a look whether it's there. But I was there when you presented it. So.
Yeah, but in a nutshell, it's using GCP VMs as elastic runners hooked into GitHub. Essentially, the GitHub runners that you get by default are quite small. They're very very small in terms of compute. So for running an end-to-end, running a GitHub action for say deploying or spinning up a sandbox, we would need a bigger VM. So that was kind of, it was hooked into that, but also I was just testing the deployment of the sandbox and just running one of the scripts against it essentially to test the Nefio controllers. That was it in a nutshell, really, as a kind of a test. But yeah, I think that at the core of it really was just, well, it was to target some form of testing on, or end-to-end testing, CI testing on the Nefio controllers, if you like.
Yeah. So okay, I think this is really a SIG3 related issue, but I guess I have a question. I think early on we had a little bit of space from Linux Foundation, a server that we could use, but I don't know if we're actually able to use that. And if we can use GCP, that's of course totally fine by me. Yeah.
According to Rado, I think we have not unlimited, but we have quite a chunk of resources there to utilize. If I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and if that, if our needs change internally in Google, we can see about that. I think that cluster was established a long time ago, but I think I think Stephen, you were involved in setting that up, right?
Yeah, well, me and John, but John mostly are the core admin.
Okay, so yeah, this was even before I joined Google.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't. We don't know how much it is actually. We asked when I don't remember her name was there was here helping us, and then she said that if it's no more than like say a couple $1,000 a month, it should be fine. But I don't know what the hard limit is.
Yeah. Okay.
And obviously that's pre-RFN, so maybe right now it's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, although, you know, if this is already working and if Google, we agree to this, so I think there are a lot of advantages to running on GCP too, because it's a real cloud platform. But now, obviously, we would love if, say, Red Hat also donated some space in cloud that we could do runs in OpenShift as well, and not just use a single cloud platform, right? But that's something for the future to discuss. Or Amazon, right? And of course, having something on OpenStack, right? So OpenStack, I wonder if that's something that Linux Foundation can provide us some OpenStack space. I think they have a lot, but it might already be taken up by projects. Anyway, I feel like this is more of a SIG 3 topic, correct?
To a degree, yes. But obviously, we don't have, from my point of view, we don't have any CI running against the Nefio controllers, really.
Yeah.
Other than the you know, the daily, which takes an hour and a half, or you know, or I was looking to have something that would execute in, you know, 10-15 minutes max, you know, for a PR push on the Nefio repo, if you like. But
Yeah, there's so yeah, what we might talk about this too, because we've received a lot of feedback from people on how long it takes to set up and run, right? That's something that annoys many of us, and it's worth maybe taking a look at that. I mean, it seems somewhat surprising that it takes so long to set everything up, right?
yeah, but maybe with that, I think Liam has his hand up. So, but we also pushed the PR. One of our Akash, one of our members, pushed the PR for pre-baked image of the Nefio sandbox, which would reduce. You know, it's 5 minutes here or there, but you know, if you had an image that you could just spin up a VM really quickly, and have it running, and then execute your end to end, or execute some kind of CI run, and tear it down, that would be ideal, you know.
Yeah. Liam, go ahead. I just wanted to add, yeah, we should probably,
well,
I think,
just regarding that pre-bake. So yeah, I merged. The change was merged yesterday or before yesterday, but so there are some issues, especially with the permissions. So that we haven't solved it yet. So I mean, the process, like if you have enough permissions, everything is working. But now we need to figure out how can we solve that particular issue. So
yeah,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you finished. Sorry, my apologies. Go ahead.
No, the only thing that I was saying is like, so if we if someone knows how to connect packet with GCP, like providing the right credentials and everything. I mean, we have the credentials, we have to do some tests, but I think that's the only thing that we have to connect, like how to pass like a environment variable, or like a specific way to set up the credentials.
Can I ask, where are we storing the image? Which repository?
It is in the faculty project, like in the GCP.
Okay, so on GCP, we're hosting it on from the GCP repository. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think my general point was we probably need to look at all the things that affect performance. I think that's an important one, but I think it's a pretty small chunk of the time that it takes. So there's probably a lot of other things we need to look on in terms of performance and why it takes so long, right? So to kind of maybe even benchmark and look at the different segments and see where we can optimize. I wonder if is there somebody here who would want to take that on as kind of just lead that topic, you know, make sure we have a document where we look at how much time things take and collect suggestions for where we can optimize.
Well, for that one, I tried to start like looking, because I mean, that's why I tried to generate the flame graphs and whatever information that was available. So John suggested me to use Jagger to capture traces and all these things. So I don't have experience like using Jagger. I just have experience using Logstash and other tools. So, but yeah, any extra hands like helping me to find. I suspect about something from Porch or like Sagar was pointing to. What was the component, Sagar? Like the specializer. So, but yeah, at this point we are not. We are just guessing.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, I've seen some of the issue that one of the things that we have, right, is that the way that, for example, one of the issues we don't have a true watch, right, in Porch at the moment. So you get like every minute, it basically it schedules you again, right? So this is one cause of a huge scale problem or a huge performance issue, because it sometimes takes 4 to 5 minutes, and sometimes it doesn't even happen before a package gets approved. And this is for me the root cause. There's two root causes. One is this. This is definitely one contributing a lot. Then there is the other one, which is then basically okay, because there is so many things happening, it just doesn't get done, and then it wastes the next cycle. But if you miss a cycle, you are basically getting a minute tax. So it's huge.
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest root causes why it takes so long in Port.
Right. Yeah, and
which is related with the next topic that you have in your agenda, right? So regarding Porch, we are going to do a major refactoring, or we're going to replace it, or like, so I don't know, like, I mean, we can try to improve it, but at the end of the day, we're going to replace it with another solution or make a better refactor. So it doesn't make sense to spend time on this, right?
Yeah, Liam has had his hand up for a while. I just want to make sure we've all been interrupted.
Sorry. No, I got caught with the daylight saving time change, and I missed the first item, but I see you've already delivered, so I'll take down my hand again. I guess I see that Alex is bringing the code of conduct to the TSCs. That's perfect. Okay. Yeah. Sorry for being late, but my kind of day cadence is a bit out this week because of that.
Oh, that's done, pal. I think I spammed every SIG mailing list there is.
Yeah, I saw it coming in there, so I said, okay, I'll take down my hand. Thanks, Alex.
Okay. Yeah, so I just a note, regarding performance, I mean, not just performance of Porch itself during usability, but, our entire end-to-end setting it up and everything. For example, creating that image, that VM image was one way to shorten the time to run the tests, right? So, yeah.
The thing is, like, if we use pre-baked images, I mean, the time that we take for creating the or installing the Nefio components and all the dependencies is not too much. It's just, well, it's 10 minutes, but it like compared with what we have at the end-to-end execution, which is like more than 1 hour and a half. So 10 minutes we're not going to win so much time. So
yeah, that's exactly my point. That they're probably. So this is why I think if we organize this properly with like a document that shows the different parts, so we can see where we can get the most gains. There might be low-hanging fruit. For example, this pre-baked virtual machine is low-hanging fruit, right? That was relatively easy to set up, I hope, and that gave us some time, right? So there might be other things that we can do with not a lot of work to improve the performance there. Maybe doing some stuff in parallel, for example, during the setup. Yeah, there might be low-hanging fruit, and there might be, for example, the whole thing with the approval controller. We've had so many iterations on that, right? So that might be something that's more difficult to fix, but it's very critical to fix because it affects not only end-to-end, but of course normal operation, right? Including, bugs where it doesn't approve at all. I think people have waited a long time and it just hasn't worked. So yeah, Victor, I wonder if this is something you're volunteering maybe to like create a document about this and kind of lead on the topic, and just so we have a list of what are the issues and where are the areas that we can improve performance.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to help on that. Like, there's no problem. I mean, but yeah, it's any ideas, any also participants in this, like, it's more than welcome.
Yeah, I think if you start the document, I think a bunch of us will have ideas on what to add to it, right?
Yeah.
I would say start with some sort of benchmark just to show, like, if we can run the end-to-end and see which parts take how much time, right? That can give us an idea of, as you said, you know, if something is just 10 minutes, that's a relatively small percentage, right?
Yep.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Just a very quick addendum to that, Tal. Sorry, I have my hand up, but in terms of the, you know, and I know it's only 10 minutes to actually deploy the sandbox, but the main bulk of time is taken with the actual use cases, so Free5GC or the OAI use cases. We know that,
Right.
but my objective with the previous item was more to have a very, so a short loop, you know, so long loop, short loop, whatever you want to call it, that would essentially bring up the sandbox and run a very, you know, in theory, you know, you could have a, sorry, so my objective was, so if somebody pushes a PR to Nephio, say, to Nephio repo, it executes a very, you know, ideally, you know, 10 minutes maximum.
Right.
Test case, you know, just basic CI to test the Nephio controllers. And then outside of that, you have your full long loop end to end, which tests, you know, all of Porch, all of the other bits and pieces like that. That was kind of my thinking around the pre-baked image and having that ready to go, you know. But yeah, like there should be more optionality in terms of end-to-end testing or you know, integration testing, if you like, rather than just
Right,
having a full big
defining
bang.
the starting and end point of the end-to-end, right?
Yeah. That's
I agree entirely, right? It's the challenge of actually building that, but I think that would help us a lot, you know, including the ability to run tests locally. So
yeah, and I think Victor was looking to also maybe possibly modularize parts of the test infra. That's more work on Victor, but yeah, if we could you could modularize parts of the test infra setup and also test run, if you like, and you could plug and play on those, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's big topic. Yeah.
it is a big topic. Okay. But we're kickstarting that topic here officially. So there are more hands. I'm sorry, I don't see them very often. Sagar, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention another topic in your list, if you can add, related to flakiness, because the reason that a test fail is not only because of, let's say, one of the test scripts. So, I mean, the reason is not only because of Porsche or anything else. The reason is also because sometimes, let's say, the VM itself, because, you know, since we are running on cloud, so let's say if the kind cluster is taking a lot of time to come up, or yesterday there was one of my tests failed, you know, because the cluster was not set up and there was some storage issues. So though the cluster was in ready state, let's say the machine config was ready, but when you see all the pods, let's say core DNS and other pods, they were not being deployed properly, probably, or they were in crashback because of the storage. So because I also really believe that, you know, since we are running on cloud or in different regions, let's say if it's a US or Europe, it really affects. So I think so this is also some sort of a flakiness, for which we need to find out different ways to, you know, to make our CI more stable. Probably it's a different topic. Probably it's a different point. Flakiness, yeah.
Yeah, it's a different topic, but it's of course related, right? Our poor performance is probably due to various bugs as well, right? You know, for example, the approval issue, right? And we might have more things that are just, in terms of improving performance, it's actually involves solving bugs. And you know, this flakiness is a concern. We've had a few people try to run through our tests and get errors. right? I would even say proper error reporting. The errors aren't always very clear in terms of what they provide, and our logs can improve as well. This is kind of a topic that I put as a general topic for us to consider, right? We can look at things like a unified logging for an FAO system where we have all the logs in one place. There are a few different solutions, Fluid, others. Some of them really great and very cloud native, working great in Kubernetes, right? So yeah, we're adding things here that are maybe not strictly about performance, but they relate at the end of the day to the user experience, right? Which performance is part of it. So yeah, thank you. Any other points people want to add to this list right now?
Yeah. So the other thing that we haven't tested yet is removing or dropping packages. So we have just explored installing, adding things in using KPT, but we haven't going revert, like how to clean out something. Mm-hmm.
So Victor, sorry to jump in, but unless we tackle this config sync usage, you will not be able to delete.
Okay, well, but I mean, people have been asked how to reverse something.
Yeah, correct. But we have to tackle that. There's an issue that John put up. That's the root cause of why we cannot delete, which is we have to change the way that we use config sync.
Okay.
Because today the reason is we merge to main, right? So once it's in main and you delete one package, you cannot revert. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like that's our limitation, but I mean, I'm not sure it's acceptable or like we have to.
No, I agree. We have to tackle it. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that is the root cause. So that's the issue.
Okay.
There's an issue. I can dig it up. I presented it when I did my presentation, I think last week. There is an issue related to that we have to tackle. That will fix it.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's a big one, by the way.
Yeah, because you need to, right. The way config sync handles deletes generally is, you need to tell it to sync something empty, basically, right? You can't just delete. Although if you delete config sync itself, its controller, it will delete everything that it owns. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about deleting specific packages, not everything, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, and anything more on the topic of performance ideas? I mean, once we start the document, we'll be able to, add a lot of things. Victor, I hope you can take a look at this list and kind of copy things there. So we have things centralized, yeah. At least that's my idea. You can handle it whatever way you see fit. Okay. So this kind of leads us, I think, to another big topic. And I don't think we'll solve it today, but I think we need to continue discuss and look at the options. So Fikra, I'm glad you're here because I know Fikra is one of the people who started to look at porch issues and fixing some of them. We have a bunch of eyes on this right now, and a whole bunch of porch-related issues have been open. Some have been closed, but most of them are going to remain open for a while, I think. So I want us maybe together to start thinking about the strategy. I mean, we know it's a big topic in front of us, so I tried to put our 4 big options here. And probably I didn't cover all of them of what we can do moving forward. Kind of in a level of severity, I would say. So the first thing, and I think we all agree we have to do, is this first one, right? We at least need to fix major bugs, right? Porsche will be with us for sure for a while. And we have some really big problems. For example, the approval controller, right? Fixing that loop. So we definitely want to tackle those. The question is, what do we want to tackle more, right? And, I don't have a clear answer. I kind of want to hear maybe from people who have worked on the Porch code base, who have tried to solve some of these things, how they feel about this generally. And I can give my own thoughts about it as well, but I kind of want to open this to the community to the people who would actually do this maintenance to hear from them, from all of us, how we think we'll be able to do that, right? So just to go over the list, the next step we can do is we can just clean up the code. And this is more of what I call transferring ownership, right? The thing about code bases, inheriting code that you did not build yourself is always kind of challenging. So if we actually, as a community, start cleaning up this code, part of it is John's proposal for evolving Porch, but some of it is just our own cleanups, right? Removing cruft, things that we don't need, making some things a bit more efficient, and in doing so, I think we will become more owners of the code, right? We will feel more confident working with that code base, which is pretty complex, right? A next step that we can take is what I call major refactoring. And this looks a lot like, for example, Wim's proposal, to break up a Porch's functionality to multiple controllers. My proposal in TKO, which is more of a kind of grab bag of various features we can cherry pick if we want to add decoupling and maybe to simplify some of the structure. And then another option on our table is, maybe all of this is just a tremendous amount of work that might distract us from all the other things that we want to do in FEO that are more telco specific, right? Until now, we relied on the fact that Porch came from Google and had that support. So, we didn't have to work too much on it, but that is changing right now. So the question is, could we use something else other than Porch? Obviously, nothing replaces Porch one-to-one, but is there something else that we can use, maybe with some add-ons from us, that could do some of this work for us in terms of the hydration pipeline, right? Specialization. So those are kind of the big things that I see, but I don't know. Liam, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to Porch and trying to build a kind of a test sort of framework around it for update use cases for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's got some big problems when it comes to the update. I think especially what it's trying to do around the way that it works with using the patch mechanism, I think is always going to be tricky. I'm not sure. I think update is something that we probably need to have, but for Porch 2.0, it might be you do so much in Porch and then you have to resort to doing some external or some fixing up on the CRs in the cluster between steps in Porch or something, because I really couldn't get it to work in any consistent way. Now, it was kind of black box testing, but I kind of went in. It did go into grey box testing, and at some points. The other thing is, I know Vika was working on this. I think we have to get the code generation working, because if we can't build it, we can't maintain it. Because
Vika started working on that, and I can help with that as well. I think we can. That's a bug that we can solve, right? That's totally solvable.
Yeah, but I think there's big. I mean, apart from the upgrade, it seems to be building okay. I mean, I think on the approval, it's we can probably do some fixing up on that will get it so that it's good enough or to whatever we define good enough to be. But I think maybe we do need to write down the things that we know don't work, the things that we know we don't need, and then that as well. I think maybe if we can do that before the end of next month, maybe. I know there's a lot of holiday time now coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We have 2 holidays coming up here, so I know I'll be off for some time myself. So maybe something, if we could have something kind of documented and ready for a bit of a discussion at the end of April, beginning of May meetings, be they in person or whatever. I think that would be good. So I think we need to have some sort of a roadmap, a technical roadmap, I would call it, so that we can say, right, Porch can do this. We know this works. We know this is sort of flaky, but sort of works. We know this doesn't work. This is what we absolutely need to have for a system like Porch, and then this is what's kind of we really should have, and then what's nice to have, and then what we can do without. If you know what I mean. Sorry for rattling on a bit.
No. This is useful. It's what we're all thinking as well, I think. So we have a tag, a label for porch related issues, and I think we already have a whole bunch of them. So people have been very good at opening them. So we might create a special view, maybe even just for porch related bugs, or I would call it platform, right? I think I think early on actually in Nefio, we thought the whole work with porch would be a separate SIG. There was a SIG platform, but we can call it a platform task force right now, right? Having to do with Nefio as a platform, right? And the SDK is related to that as well, too, right? So we might be moving towards turning that into something more official here, maybe. The people who would actually be maintained and be responsible for our core components. Liam, what do you think? Is it something that if you started thinking about, do you think you can start maybe organizing this into I'm not expecting a roadmap now, but maybe putting together the open issues and kind of organizing it in a way that we can all consume and try to make decisions around?
Yeah, no, I don't mind taking the lead in that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, and obviously I do not expect you to solve all these problems, but just to help us start thinking constructively.
And maybe if we could just have a bit of prep done so that we can have some short-term and long-term thinking and discussions in 4 to 6 weeks would seem like a good target to have, and then we can
yeah and this obviously relates very strongly to our previous topic regarding performance, right? There's so many questions there that I have around the the way we handle Git. We have to clone it, and then we have to put we have kind of local cache for Git as well, and there are issues that are having to do with drift. Performance, I put it under the label performance, but obviously we added things here regarding flakiness and other things, more buggy behavior. I'll add.
Yeah, it's all down to data consistency, and that's always that's always just challenging.
I know, and honestly, our system is kind of complex, right? And we've raised the issue before. If we want to allow Git to work as a first-class citizen, working directly with Git and not always through Porch and through our platform, then data consistency becomes even trickier, right? So anyway, that's a huge topic. Sorry, I need to check if hands are up. Go ahead, Wim. Wim, you're a chair too, so you can help me with raised hands if you see that.
Yeah, it was just me. I was just waiting. Normally, I I have a bad behavior that I will jump in before
me too,
I'm giving the right. But
yeah, we all have that bad behavior. Yeah,
I might have, maybe this is a controversial discussion, right? So here is the thing, right? If you look to Nefio, I always said Nefio is 2 things. Nefio is use cases, and Nefio I can drive certain patterns, right? That either Nefio itself solves or someone else solves. So the question that we have to ask ourselves, right, with all the people that so far, I mean, if you look what we have been doing, we have been writing some glue on top of things that someone else built, right? So Porch, in my view, was not a Nefio project. It was a Google project, right? And we inherited that, right? So think about the way that we, as Nefio, rather than owning those things, we rely on other people, right? Or we rely on projects that basically do that, right? Because we also have to think about, if you want to be owner of that project, you actually have to put resources and effort dedicated to that particular component. My view personally is that Porch by itself as a tool is not, can be used not only by Nefio, but by other people. It's a generic thing that can be used in various scenarios. So in other words, we as Nefio would benefit that there is a team that basically builds that independent of Nefio, and Nefio is a consumer, which serves a broader use case than pure Nefio. And versus doing that all within ourselves, because I so far I don't believe we have the people nor the resources to actually control all of that in the proper way. And that's maybe a controversial statement, but I think it's something we have to consider, because we could be just a glue that basically focuses on use cases, and we rely on other things that deliver certain pieces, and we focus on the glue versus focusing on some of the core components to do certain things.
Yeah.
So and I was always, when we moved to LFN, I was a big advocate to have some of these core projects have in the CNCF landscape, and then have Nefio focused on the glue. Because I believe that if you really want to succeed with a component like Porch, it has to be outside of Nefio.
So, yeah, I don't see other hands. I'm agreeing with you 100%. You know, I'm very concerned about this. This is obviously not what we were hoping for. I mean, to be fair to John's team, from the very start, they've been very clear about this being alpha level, and they don't know how far it will go. There was no commitment for long-term support of Porch, right? This was an experiment in a way to get this project started with something, right? And from the very start, John was clearly on loan to Nefio. It was always clear that he would have an endpoint of his participation as well, but it was help to get us started, right? So, yeah, we're at a crossroad about what to do next. I mean, there's obviously a balance here between how much we do ourselves versus, you know, it's not like we can't handle any orchestration work, but I'll give you an example of maybe an ideal situation. Imagine, for example, that Flux could do a lot of what we want. Or Argo. They don't, but let's pretend that they were, and those communities, actually, let's look at Argo, because Flux's future is also in Flux. But let's say Argo workflows, right? Argo has a component called workflows, which is pretty powerful for running various tasks. And let's say, hey, we can piggyback our specialization pipeline on top of that. I don't think that's the case, but let's pretend that it could work. So then we might be able to contribute components to Argo, or maintain our own components that are based on Argo that kind of just do the kind of a package specialization that we need to do in Argo, right? That's something I think we would have been able to manage, right? Or for example, if we used a BPMN engine, you know, like ONAP does, we might be able to run our own tasks that would work in a BPM engine, but we would not manage own the engine itself, right? So I think that's kind of what when I talk about replacing Porch here, I think that's what I mean. You know, I'm not saying it would be wonderful if there would be something that do exactly what we need, but that component doesn't exist. So we might have a way to add to an existing platform things that we need, right? So this is something that needs to be researched and evaluated. I think we don't have easy answers, but the bottom line, you know, I agree with. I think if this was something pretty small, we could probably own it, right? Part of what I tried to do with the TKO experiment was to show that it could be something very small, right? I think TKO is a much smaller code base than Porch, and I think does a lot of the same thing. Whether it's appropriate for us or not, you know, I can't say, but there might be an option to do something far more focused and less ambitious than Porch, something, you know, a mini Porch that only really satisfies our most minimal requirements, right? But yeah, you know, our appetite for what we need from that might keep growing, and you know, the question is, do we want to own something like that in the long term, right? Yeah.
Because for me, Tal, I mean, my view is the following, right? If you really want to do it well, you should actually build it that it's for production grade consumption.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is, if you don't have that ambition, then you're going to fail.
So to an extent, I think some of that is in our scope, right? Because from the very start, Nefio was about looking at what are the gaps in Kubernetes and filling them, whatever they might be, right? And if Kubernetes is an orchestrator and we are extending its orchestration, which we do even just by writing an operator, right? Even an operator extends Kubernetes's orchestration abilities, and we're expecting to produce production grade software, right? So it is supposed to run in production. So the issue is really how far we go with this, right? How comprehensive engines and solutions are we able to do? We can make operators, but the question is, can we make and maintain a complete orchestrator, right, under Nefio?
And build it so that it's carrier grade and robust and scale. Exactly. That's going to be the, I'm personally not convinced that we have the manpower and the skills of people to do so at the moment.
I'm leaning towards the fact that we don't, right?
Yes.
I think even if we have some very smart and talented people here, everybody on the call right now, right? I think anybody here, if they attack the porch issue, we'll be able to fix bugs. We'll be able to improve it in many ways. But can we be committed for the long term in terms of supporting porch and making it really a carrier grade platform? Very, very hard. I mean, it's alpha level right now. We're at a crossroads. This is a very big deal for the future of Nefio. I don't have answers for this right now. I think we can take it one step at a time. For now, porch works for us. If we can do the major thing of fixing the big bugs and pain points, in terms of flakiness, we can at least refer to porch as our reference platform. So we're not claiming it's carrier grade and ready for production, but we are claiming that it's ready to run our use cases, right? That works for sure. Additionally, we can work on decoupling certain aspects, right? We talked about removing our dependency on kept. If we move porch to working more and more in terms of just plain KRM packages, it will make it easy for us to move to other solutions, right? So we reduce our dependencies basically on things that porch already has in terms of kept, right? So maybe I'll add this as a point here too.
Yeah, Liam has its hand. Maybe just
go ahead, please.
I wanted to agree with what Wim and Tal just said. I don't think we have the resources to do a fully fledged orchestration system ourselves. Probably we need to, as part of the kind of our first look at this, see, how much of it we can fix, and how good part of the discussion has to be how good can we get it to be with the resources that we have, or the resources that we're likely to have, and what can we remove. So it's without damaging it. So I think that has to be part of the discussion that we're going to have on this, and then where does K-form and then TKO fit into the medium to long term picture as well. Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah, I think everybody's thinking. So this is going to be ongoing. We're not solving this today. Obviously, it's more about kickstarting a more organized discussion that Liam will help us get to. And yeah, it's ongoing. I don't expect any changes for R3.
Yeah, sorry. I just raised my hand.
Victor also has his hands raised.
Oh, sorry. I don't see it.
No. The only thing I'm agree. Like definitely, everybody only has 24 hours, and we have to very clear. We have to be very wise to know where to allocate those 24 hours. So, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure to know which is the secret sauce that or the key component that Nefio is bringing into the table. So if at the end of the day we rely too much on external components, we're going to end like something like a silver project, where like they are more like an integrator instead of like creating some like a glue or like things like that. So I'm in favor to rely on the efforts on other projects and not try to reinvent the wheel, especially because we don't have enough resources. But we have to also make sure that we promote and we have clear like what are our major difference in terms of like a community or like what we are bringing to the table in all the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to add, if we're really a glue project, which I think that's where our biggest potential lies. Like we're great. This is a great location for gluing things together. We have the expertise in Kubernetes and in telco and in cloud right here. And this is a great place, I think, for gluing a lot of things together and hoping also that we can contribute upstream to other projects around us, right, that we work with. Mm-hmm. I think Nefio authors can make upstream contributions, helping maybe add features to config sync, right? Maybe, assuming we want to continue working with it too, that's another question. For example, again, if we work with Argo or Flux, we can contribute components there and own them. Working with components in ORAN, right? That's a little bit more difficult because that's a closed community. But we can think of ourselves as citizens of a bigger open source ecosystem, and we're consumers of projects, but we can also produce components for other projects where we own them there. So that's also something to think about, right? The bigger ecosystem that we're a part of. We're not just a bubble. We're not just making our own operators, right? For example, the Nefio SDK work that we do there, I think could be valuable to anybody trying to create operators on Kubernetes, right? Not just for Nefio. I'm not saying something really big here other than that, kind of underlying your point, Victor, in terms of we are part of a bigger ecosystem, and I think we need to think about that more strategically too, how we relate to that bigger ecosystem.
Because I think, Victor, it's not, because you are the glue that you cannot be very meaningful in the market, right? Because I believe there is still a huge value of what we do in that. The mission that we have, I think, is still unique in its kind, right? But in order to deliver, so there is a bunch of key components that we probably need or rely upon. That you need to. I'm of the opinion that if you don't build it for production, it's going to be hard to maintain eventually, right? So that doesn't. So the way I look at it is like Nefio is still in the driving seat from that point of view. But if you let's say if you take Nefio and you could rely on a bunch of people that basically have ports in their mission and that's their life, right? It would be ideal for us, right? Because then you rely on those type of people to actually help focus on it, and their mission in life is to get a package manager, if you will, or a package orchestration. That is their mission in life. And like Tal mentioned, Argo, for example, their mission in life is Argo and its mission of that's around that. So if you could do something along those lines, I think we all benefit, because the team that owns, let's call it the porch component, is going to benefit by Nefio because they are a consumer, right? And they want more consumers of the project, right? And so as such, it's a win-win at the end of the day.
No, I'm completely agree. I mean, so I think all of us are in sync. Like, but the thing is, like, probably we have to measure, like, if Torch is like something that we need to create in house, or maybe we can rely on other community, or so that's specific for Porch. But if what I was trying to say is it is our secret sauce is what is Porch is bringing to the table, and we are just I don't know, moving away from Porch. So what is going to be our differentiator? But yeah, you have bring up several things like the SDK and the controller and other components. So that's probably our major value as a Nephew community, I guess.
So I think we have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
I'll just say, there are certain principles that are definitely unique. I think the community has taken the configuration as data approach pretty seriously, and I think it's proved itself, right? The idea of starting from blueprints and specializing them or preparing them or whatever we would call that, and turning that into moving from dry to wet, right? Moving from the templates, the blueprints to deployable packages at a very large scale. I think our basic concepts have proved themselves, right? The technology itself is not strong, right? We have various issues with performance, right? And the bigger issue with maintainability of that piece of the code that we're using right now. But the concept itself, I think, is the correct one for the community, right? And it's something that's missing in Kubernetes in general. As Wim pointed out, Porch didn't even start with telco specifically. It was trying to solve this general problem of dealing with a lot of data at a large scale in Kubernetes. And right, how do you create that specialized data that you need per specific workload, per specific site, when you're dealing with a huge amount of sites and a huge amount of workloads, right? So I think that basic automation approach is the correct one. Yeah, and the question is, how can we distill that and maybe build on existing technologies instead of building our own to achieve that specific goal? I don't think it's trivial, because I don't think any other project other than Porch addressed it in quite such a direct way. Argo has its own interesting philosophies. Flux has its own interesting philosophies. There are other projects we can look at. Maybe there's one that's a little bit close to what we're able to do, and we can, as I said, piggyback on that and just like create a configuration as data component for Argo or something like that, right? I don't know. Anyway, we're kind of brainstorming here. I don't think any of us has a clear solution, and for now, at least, it's not a complete emergency. I think for R3, definitely we can continue with Porch. We can try to fix some of the major issues with it and make it more stable and maybe perform better. But the long-term problem remains, right? And yeah, I have no answers. Okay. Yeah, I see there were things in the chat, of course. Okay. Okay, everyone. Sorry, we're leaving the meeting on a cliffhanger today. We don't know exactly what the next steps are, but we have some ideas. Liam will kind of lead us. Victor will lead us into maybe starting to look at these issues separately. We'll kind of divide and conquer and kind of have an idea of where we're heading. So thank you, both of you, for stepping up to help. And I'll see you next week and see you on Slack.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.